Welcome, my name is Dawn, and I'm going to be showing you what is called a lightning study. Lightning studies are produced by Precept Ministries in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Lightning study is a very short study that helps you to see how you can study the Bible for yourself instead of having to rely on other people's opinions or interpretations of the scripture. You can learn truth for yourself. So this study is on John, the book of John, which is in the New Testament of the Bible. It's on chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. So if you'll look with me at the screen now, we'll read some of the information about that and some of the instructions. Follow along with me as I read, please. Who is Jesus? The question is 2,000 years old. People ask the same question when Jesus walked on earth. Who was Jesus? A man, a good man, a prophet, a medicine man, a god, a myth, the God-man? The instructions ask us to read through this passage and circle the word word and any of the pronouns that refer to word, which would be a he or him. And it also tells us to circle any synonyms for the word word. A synonym is another word that is used for a word. It's a different word, but they refer to the same thing. For example, if I called my brother at some point my sibling would be a synonym for the word brother. So let's go ahead and read this passage. It'll be on the screen or it's on the right side of your handout. In the beginning was the Word. So circle the word word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. He, now it switches to the pronoun he, talking about the Word. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him. And apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. So did you notice that's a synonym? So circle the word light. In him, that is in the Word, was life, and that life that was in the Word was the light of men. So we're going to continue to mark light as a synonym for the word word. Verse 5, the light again shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. It, talking about the light again, it's a pronoun for light. And then in verse 6, it says, there came a man sent from God whose name was John. That's not talking about the Word, it's talking about this man John, who is John the Baptist. He came as a witness, that's John the Baptist, came as a witness to testify about the light, so there's light again, one, so that all might believe through him, and that him is John the Baptist. He, John the Baptist, was not the light, circle light, but he came to testify about the light. Okay, now I'm going to move up the page so you can see the right verses. Remembering we were marking the word light, we want to keep marking that as a synonym, so I'm going to back up to verse 8. He was not the light, but he came to testify about the light. And then in verse 9, there was the true light, which, coming into the world, enlightens every man. He, speaking of the true light, who is also the Word, he was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and those who were his own did not receive him. Verse 12, but as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name. speaking of the Word or the light. I'm going to back up here. Even to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory. You notice there's a pronoun describing the word again. It calls the word a he here. And we saw his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. And that only begotten from the Father is also a synonym describing the Word. So I'm going to circle only begotten here. Let me move it up a little bit again. In verse 15, John testified about him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me has a higher rank than I, for he existed before me. For of his fullness we have all received, and grace upon grace." Verse 17, "For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth were realized through Jesus Christ." And Jesus Christ is a synonym also for the Word or for the light, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Verse 18, "No one has seen God at any time, the only begotten God." I'm going to mark only begotten God for synonym, who is also talking about him, who is in the bosom of the Father. He has explained him. He, the only begotten God, who is the Word, has explained him, has explained God the Father. Now we want to go back and look at the words that we circled in this text. And we want to see what can we learn from this passage about the Word. And so I will go back over them and ask questions. And as I ask the questions, I'll pause for a few seconds so you can see if you can find the answers. And then we'll talk about the answers. What did you learn about the Word? According to verse 1, who is he? How is he described? Did you see that it says the Word was God? Let's look down at verse 14. What do you see about the Word here? Did you see the Word became flesh, and he dwelt among us, and we saw his glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth? And then down in verse 17 through 18, how is he described? Did you see that he was full of grace and truth, and that grace and truth were realized through Jesus Christ? And then in verse 18, "No one has seen God at any time, but the only begotten God, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has explained him." He has explained the Father. So, the bottom two questions are, who is the Word? And I hope you saw in verse 17 that the Word is Jesus Christ. And the last question is, who is Jesus? And according to this passage, I hope you see that Jesus is God. He's the only begotten from the Father. He's the Son of God. So what are you going to do with Jesus? Well, that's just a sample of a lightning study. And you can see that it's easy for you to study the Bible for yourself. And the more you practice this, the more you'll develop your skills. There are other precept studies available at Precept Ministries, which is precept.org, precept.org. And you can go there and download some more for yourself. The instructions for each one is on the sheet, so you can see how to do it for yourself. I look forward to our next time together. God bless you.